Well, hello everyone. I am back, and I know it has been an incredibly long time, and that I've even gotten some new subscribers even in my absence. And I just wanted to say how much I appreciate everyone sticking around. And the day has come that the peace deal is already partially been revealed. And that was pretty much the reason that this channel was started in the first place. And so it's really only fitting that during this time that we begin to do some coverage and to talk about what's really going on, where that's concerned, and obviously the way that things are going in the last days. We've got to talk about these things. Now, what I wanted to start with was what I remember being taught all the time, constantly from every angle uh, about prophecy when I was very young. And so I wrote down from memory what I remembered being taught because I literally see it everywhere. What I was taught, what it would look like when the last days had come. And it's quite the list, and I'm pretty sure that I missed a few things, but it's long enough, really, it is. Um, and what I remembered being told was that good would be bad and that bad would be considered good. Things would become backwards in terms of morality, that the seasons would be off. Um, that and they said that they said it would be like winter would be like summer and summer would be like winter as things kept progressing. That famine would be growing, that we would have signs in the sky, that parents would be killing children and children killing parents. We have not just murder both ways happening, but infanticide right now. So that's definitely happening. That people would be offended by a word, just, a spirit of offense, that disease would be growing, that the century before the last days, that there would be a century of technological advancements like no time before, uh, that Christian persecution would rise, and it is. Economic collapses would be beginning, lawlessness, rivers of blood, floods in some places, and right next door, droughts, pollution of the earth, mass animal and fish deaths would be happening, wildfires, earthquakes, great hail and wind, strange sights, falling away from the church, uh, false teachers in the church, riots, issues with bugs, volcanoes, last days martyrs we've been seeing, people put to death for God, and church shootings, right? School shootings. Do you believe in God? Those are happening, right? Where yes, dangerous times, terrorism, the rise of Russia, the rise of Islam. And what was interesting is that we had all of these things were told to us that would be going on. All these strange weather events and fire coming from the sky. And now that we're here, it's easy to see that all of these signs, as far as what's happening to the earth, was all magnetic pole reversal signs, right? I mean, yes, the stars in the sky, the Revelation 12 sign, that had nothing to do with a magnetic pole shift. Obviously, that is that, but I'm talking about the earth events. It's there. right? The four horsemen, what they're doing, that's all pole shift stuff, as far as the crops and the pestilence, the disease, things like that. The crop problems are caused by weather issues and bugs, you know. Something has to be happening. So the pole shift signs are also listed scientifically. There's quite a list there of things of signs that tell you that you are in a magnetic pole reversal. Mike from Around the World talks about this all the time, but you can really, look up a lot of these things yourself. Right. I wrote down 14 signs of a magnetic pole shift. Again, there are probably more, but you can readily see these things going on around the world, so it's not some conspiracy theory. This is real. So we would have confused animals and insects, problems with transformers and power grids, thunderstorms between climate extremes, auroras in rare places, and sprites, volcano issues, water retreats, compass and GPS issues, extreme lightning, extreme wind, trumpet sounds coming from a liquefying mantle, mass animal, fish, and insect deaths, crop issues, season confusion, and human health issues. Okay, so all of these things were also summed up in a phrase called earth pangs. And so when you see that Revelation 12 sign was up there and the increase in the intensity of these quakes, I mean, you want to talk about quakes. The more that we've been getting into this peace deal with Israel, things have really been kicking up a notch around here, haven't they? Okay, I made a list for that too. Oh yeah. Okay. So nobody could miss the quakes going on in Southern California. No missing that whatsoever. And it started on July 4th. That was pretty wild. I thought that it was pretty interesting to once again see that because this partial lunar eclipse was going over Jerusalem, that, of course, the normal rapture videos were coming out. I always try to tell everybody, we've got so much that needs to happen first, and one day you're going to finally believe me and stop saying that, because you really are missing so much. But this moon that happened, it was called the blood moon. Whether that was appropriate or not was up for debate, really, because it was a partial lunar eclipse, that's for sure. But what I thought was really interesting is that the peace deal was also a partial reveal, partial moon, lunar eclipse. So that was to me an omen, and especially around midnight, Revelation 12, midnight hour, these birth pangs are increasing. Okay, what else have we been noticing? Not just the talk about dividing Israel, because that is what they are talking about. They may not have it out yet or completely out, but yes, I promise you, they're going to propose a two-state solution. That's the direction that it's going to go. And in the meantime, we have division in our country that is so thick you can cut it with a butter knife. All right. And then Hurricane Barry comes barreling through. Okay. And it hits that part of the United States on the way in that we're having crop issues, right? The Nebraska area and surrounding states area that is causing shortages, actual shortages of canned items, canned vegetables, items in Kroger and Walmart that some of you across the country may have noticed. Ice Age Farmer did report on this, okay? He's really got the corner market when it comes to paying attention to which crop issues are going to affect us in the short term. He's always really good about that. Now, all of these things happening, partial reveal. It's the economic portion. And I had always been taught that it would be for financial reasons that this would be going on, that this would happen, that this would go ahead and go forward is for financial gain, and that the Palestinians are really strapped right now. They really are strapped. So, and then it comes out in the news recently that Greenblatt has been having these secret, he at least reported that there are secret meetings that are going on behind closed doors. That's humongous, okay? I knew that this is how it would happen, that it would look like one thing in the news, but behind the scenes, that meetings would be taking place in secret. And they are. I'd said it in a previous video, but which one? I don't know. I made 168 of them in the 3 years. It was in there. But I had to remember that. I knew. So it's not a matter of when the peace deal is coming. It's here. Okay. And what I do know about this time, oh my gosh, what is amazing is that we are so distracted by what is going on in politics that we are literally missing how biblical this moment in time really is, and how much this event is going to change everything. This peace deal is going to be that point. And everybody is so worried about Trump's tweets and what AOC thinks and what Pelosi's doing. It's nothing. It's minuscule compared to what is going on in Israel, because I'll tell you what, it was important enough for the Bible to write about it. Oh yes, they did. So I even saw a preacher saying that, and I won't mention his name, but he was like talking about how good the deal was, and how just it seemed like he was saying that it would be foolish of them to turn it down. And then I'm thinking, this is a Christian preacher. Aren't they supposed to know this is the wrong direction to go? All right. And then I look, and there's also, it looks like in this peace deal that there will be consequences if Israel doesn't comply, or if Hamas and Abbas don't agree. There will be consequences to not going with this deal. So there is something forced about this. Something not right. But I'll tell you, I started this channel because God was so angry a few years ago when he came and told me about what is happening now. He was so mad that I almost couldn't understand what he was saying at first. He was furious. He's livid. I mean, white knuckles. Shh. Ooh, he is so mad right now. He's not okay. All right. So the reason why I had to come back and talk about this is because I know that at some point, that disaster I was telling everyone about from the very start is at the door. It is. Sometime around this peace deal. That's all I know, is it has something to do with the timing of this peace deal. And I'm not talking about the continent divide. I'm talking about something that happens before. And all I know is it has something to do with Texas, the Gulf of Mexico, and a lot of water. I don't want to cry wolf, and I don't want to fearmonger. But at the same time, if I see the sword coming and I don't say anything, then I can get in a lot of trouble. And see, the peace deal, that's happening now. There are going to be repercussions for that. There are going to be these warnings. And if I'm wrong, if I was wrong about what I saw coming, then I'm wrong. Okay, that's pretty big prediction, but I'm actually pretty on point most of the time. It's just this one even it's scary enough that I'm not wanting to face it, but because it's here that I have to. So there were other things that I knew that I was taught back then that go from this point into the future a little bit more. Okay, what happens after the peace deal? And that's just as important too, because it's also a lot of biblical scripture about what happens next too. But the peace deal was pivotal. That was it's some kind of turning point, a major turning point. It's no little thing that should be just a blip in the news, okay? But what I was told was that Christians would push for the rebuilding of the temple, knowing it would bring about the tribulation because they wanted to be raptured. Okay? They also taught me about the Ezekiel 38 war that we would be fighting, but we'd be fighting. But after that, they talked about an event called the apocalypse, a moment in time during the last days called the apocalypse, and that something would come out that was so unexpected, that some hidden thing, some hidden truth was going to come out that was going to shock everybody. That there would be a great revealing, there would be a great revival, and also they called it a great awakening. So I remember it was just a few months ago that I asked Father, I said, well, when is this apocalypse? Why hasn't the apocalypse happened yet? And he said, because you can't put new wine in old wineskins. And now I'm starting to understand, you know, I'm starting to get it, that we are stuck in a certain way of thinking of how things are going to go. Example, the need for the rapture, and it's pushing Christians in a certain direction that they are, you know, just got blinders on to what's going on in the meantime. They don't want to hear that there's more than what they are anticipating. They've forgotten. They have forgotten. I don't know why, but these things are bound to happen in the near future, because that peace still is here. You don't know. This is the dawn of a new day. And anybody could say, I guess, that a disaster is going to happen whenever you're messing with Israel. But I can say that they aren't that specific. And I know that mine is still somewhat vague in nature, but the truth is, I'm just telling you what I was told. I don't know what causes this disaster, but I do know that it is sudden. There's no warning, completely unexpected. And what's going on with this peace deal, according to scripture, that they're going to take the bite, but we are going to have immediate issues. Immediate issues. There will not be peace. I'm telling you, it's going to be the opposite. And from what we've been hearing from validated prior prophets, like from the last 40 years, that they talked about this time, and one of them you might recognize as Dumitru Duduman. Awesome, awesome guy, right? And there were people that talked about different aspects of what would happen, and it did appear that the land is divided. I had a vision about the land being divided also. That happens first, but the peace still happens first. That makes sense. But the people that talked about the war that would come as a result of that peace deal, that Dumitru Duduman, I wrote down what he said, and I quote part of what he said. It says, the Russians know where nuclear power plants are. When they think it's peace and quiet, some groups inside will revolt against the government. And we are kind of having a revolt against the government. We really are, from inside of the government itself, inside its own walls. The government will be occupied with a revolution. Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico will bombard America. And he said like there would be like 2 more countries, but he couldn't remember the names of them, but that America would be being bombarded. So that had to be leading up to. These are signs, you know, that all of this is connected. It's all leading up to something. And there is no way for me to have a voice strong enough to say, please stop this. And it wouldn't matter if I screamed it standing on top of the White House in a clown suit. This is gonna happen. Okay, I had to pause the making this video for a second, and my electrical fuse just blew out of one of my sockets. So like part of my house doesn't have electricity now. It's like burned. And my daughter reminds me, she goes, you know, ever since you've been making videos, we had all of these electrical issues. You stopped making them for a while. We stopped having those issues. And now you go to make a video and it happens again. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here too. But there are a lot of patterns in this world, aren't there? And look, just a heads up, I'm telling you all of this because they're talking about possibly releasing the political portion of the peace deal early, before the Israeli elections. September 17th, I believe, is when they're supposed to be. And a lot's going to be going on. The things that are going on now, it's going to keep stepping up. These are the days. These are the days we've been waiting for, the days that I've been stressing out about for the last 4 years. There's so much coming. There's so much more happening than meets the eye. Don't let politics distract you. Just stay as close to God as possible. Be aware. And I will talk to you as soon as I can. And I'll tell you right now, I'm really glad that I moved my computer out of my room before that electrical surge happened, because my computer would have been fried if it was in there. And I had just moved it out like 30 minutes ahead of time. And this was just on my mind to make this. So praise God. And I will talk to you in the coming days, but I'm not gonna be making a whole lot of videos at first. I'm just starting off here, and as things begin to progress more and more really soon, I will be back then. Okay? So just sit tight, keep your eyes open, okay? Bye everybody.